You may have noticed recently that I am trying a bunch of different things now to try and get my health in better shape. I did spend quite a bit of time thinking that this is it, I'm done, everything's just getting worse, I'm going to be bedridden, probably going to die soon, all that kind of stuff. But I'm trying to regroup now and be a lot more positive, and that is one of the things that I'm doing. So I wanted to do a little summary today of some of the stuff that I'm trying, and you can see I've got a little bit of a different setup today, so hoping that also is helpful because it does make it a lot faster for me to get everything going. So one thing I am doing, I'll start with there, was the DNRS program, which is Dynamic Neuro Retraining System. And so it's basically rewiring your limbic system and getting it to be a lot more positive and into the parasympathetic mode, which is a resting mode and not the constant fight or flight mode that I've been in probably for quite a few years, but especially over the past few years. So that is one thing I'm doing. The other thing I'm doing is the Coimbra protocol, which is a very, very high dose of vitamin D, along with some other supplements that help, and regular testing to make sure that my body is using it properly and not having any problems, because if you don't do it with a proper certified practitioner, you could actually damage yourself doing this. So because vitamin D is really good for you to a certain point, if you do too much more, or you just do it incorrectly with the wrong supplements that go with it, like magnesium and K2, if you have too much calcium, these things can all cause problems. They can really wreck your health. So don't do the Coimbra protocol without help. I think with DNRS and limbic system training, you can probably do that without a practitioner. Actually, I am doing without a practitioner, and you don't necessarily have to pay for the programs either. If you want to do a lot of your own research, you can find a lot of stuff on YouTube and other social media and learn it for yourself. And I am actually paying for the program, but I'm also not going to be doing everything that they recommend because some of it is very new agey, new thought, hypnotic junk that I have no interest in, so I won't be doing that part of it, but we'll be replacing it with more biblical practices that are still very positive and good for my system, but are actually truthful. So that's really important. Also, you probably, if you've been following my channel, you know that I've been doing the carnivore diet for 18 months now, and it's moving a little bit more into the direction of ketovore. A little bit. I'm still eating meat for every meal, but I'm also trying to add in a few other little things like macadamia nuts. I take a little bit every day for the oxalates because I want to have a little bit of oxalates in my diet, because I, along the way, learned that there is such a thing as oxalate dumping, which is a really awful thing. And it turns out that the very healthy diet I was on, the Walls diet prior, is extremely high in oxalates, particularly the kinds of foods that I can eat and that I was eating regularly. So just going from that to straight carnivore is actually potentially really troublesome, because when you oxalate dump, you can have all kinds of awful things. And the worst thing probably that it can cause is kidney stones, which thankfully I have not had, but it can cause a lot of other problems. And I have noticed some of them for myself as well. So I just try to keep that low level there coming along. And then I'm also wanting to add in a few other things just to have a little bit more variety in my diet, because I got to a point where I was basically only eating unaged beef, grass-fed. We bought half a cow, and that's all that I was eating for all of my meals, 3 meals a day. And that gets really boring after a while. It's great cow, it tastes wonderful, but it's just, you need a little bit of variety. So I've been able to add pork back in, which is great. I've been doing well with that, and I am wanting to add just a few more things. I'll still keep the carbs low because I want to be in ketosis as best I can to keep fighting these seizures, hopefully. So doing all of that, and also, of course, with the Coimbra protocol, I am making a commitment to doing some exercise every day, which is great. So I go for a short walk, and I also do some weightlifting, and just as much as I can do, because I can't tolerate heat and I don't have energy. I am very fatigued, which I'm not supposed to talk about anymore on DNRS, but that's the reality. I have it times 2 because of the medication. So there's only so much I can do. So I'm working within what I'm capable of right now, and hoping and praying that in the future that will improve, because I would love to get in good shape. I'd love to get off this medication. I would love to lose the weight. There's just, instead of gaining, because the medication is making me gain weight, as I've mentioned, so that's a problem as well. But we're moving in the right direction. So I'm doing a lot of just changing things. And I am getting tested for Lyme, and will be sending that test off. I'm in Canada, but we're going to send it to IGNX in the United States because that is a far better system than what the Canadian system offers. The Canadian system throws out false negatives constantly for Lyme. And then if you go to IGNX, you'll find out, oh no, you are positive for this, 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 and this. So yeah, that's where I'm just going to go straight there, skip the Canadian nonsense completely, and have got that all set up today, actually, with my naturopath. So we're going to move in that direction and see what other things we can do to help treat it. And I'm also going to be looking into different things to help get me start sweating again so I can start doing some more detoxing and, Lord willing, get off of this medication eventually. It's going to take years because it is, although it is prescribed almost exclusively for seizures, for epilepsy, it is a benzodiazepine, and they're no joke. Even though it's a lower dose, it's no joke. It's not something you can just quit. And of course, I want to make sure that I've got my seizures under control and I'm stable, and then very, very, very slowly start tapering down a little bit, and then wait a long time, and then taper a little bit more and keep going that way. So this could be probably a multi-year process to get off of this if it's possible. But Lord willing, it will be, and I can get off of this and I can get moving forward into a better, healthier direction, because I have a lot of things I want to do. And I definitely don't want to be stuck doing nothing anymore. I want to be out there witnessing for Christ and taking care of my house and spending time fellowshipping with other Christians and all of this stuff. You know, I'd love, love, love to be able to work again. I would love to be able to bring some income in so that we can just afford to keep going, because times are really tough right now. And for me, not being able to work for such a long time has been really, really difficult to deal with. And I've kind of felt like for a long time there's just no hope of me ever working again. But now I'm trying to hang on to the idea. What if I could work again? What would I do? You know, and how can I plan for that now? How can I prepare for it and get myself in good shape to do it? Because I know that work can suck as well. It can be awful. I've had some pretty terrible jobs in my day as well, but there's some really great stuff that could be done out there too. So I have all these plans that I want to work on, and I want to be as positive as possible, but I also need to be truthful. I will not play games. I won't do self-hypnosis, and I won't pretend things are great when they're not. But I want to have a better look at everything and to move forward with a grouping of things to help feel better. If I'm treating Lyme, if that's what I have, if I am taking Coimbra and I'm doing DNRS and I'm doing the exercising and I'm doing carnivore and I'm doing all of these things, then I am, right now, I would say I'm hopeful that it's moving me in a better direction and that 2025 will actually be a giant step forward instead of another step backwards, because I'm ready for that. So here we go. I'm going to break these different systems that I'm following down a little bit in future videos so that you can hear a little bit more about what I'm doing. And then I hope, Lord willing, to keep on doing videos to give you updates on what's working and maybe what hasn't worked so great or what I've had to adjust or anything like that, because DNRS, for instance, is a minimum 6-month program, and it can take 6 months before you start seeing the bulk of the results. They do promise some pretty impressive results, and we'll see. So I'm just open to it, but I'm not expecting it to fix everything, because obviously it's not going to cure your cancer. It's not going to, solve it's not a magic cure for anything. It's just getting your system settled down so that your body can start fighting the things that are attacking it in a proper way so that you can actually start functioning again. And we have this epidemic of not being functional in North America, at least, the Western world for sure. There's just so much going on. There's the stress levels, there's the garbage in the food, GMO, the pesticides, all of those sorts of things going on, especially in North America, but also in other areas of the Western world as well. And a lot of those things, of course, the drug companies and everything that they're doing, it's getting worse and worse. And people are just, autism and depression and all, I mean, it could just go on and on. There's so many things that happen to people now that didn't used to happen. They weren't the norm for people. And North America is full of this stuff now, and it's really bad. So let's start moving in a better direction and stop pretending that we're all supposed to be vegan, because I'm sorry, if you're vegan and you really like it, that's your business. I think vegan is a joke, really. I think it's not good for you in the long term, and you are not going to get what you need. And I actually had a friend years ago who went through that. She was very committed. She was Christian, but she was very committed to eating vegan, and it actually ruined her health. And she had to start adding some meat back in. She didn't want to, but she had to for her own health. And I hate to see people getting sick because they're doing something that they think is really good for them, when in fact they're damaging themselves and they're not doing what's right, especially because we don't have access to the best possible vegetables. They're just so poisoned and GMO and all that, and it's so hard, and not grown in good soil, and I could just go on and on. So meat can have its issues too. There are a lot of farmers who can do a lot of pretty nasty things in the food and how they raise their animals, but there are a lot more good options out there too, and I think we need to take advantage of those as best we can for as long as we can. So that's kind of my plan. And of course, whenever possible, as I'm sure you've heard many people say, go with local whenever possible, and because we have to support local, otherwise we end up depending on other sources elsewhere, and then eventually they have control, and if they want to cut it off, then they get to, and then we don't have what we need because we haven't supported the people that could have supplied us locally. So supply people locally whenever you can, and definitely also look out for all of the junk that is in everything, and try to find people who are providing the best options there. So that's kind of where I am, and I've started taking this into a babbling direction, so I'm just going to shut her down now. And hopefully we'll have lots more exciting stuff to report in the coming weeks and months and over the next year. God bless.